Hey Charges. Today I'd like to talk to you about some of the benefits of travelling when you're over 40. So everyone kind of assumes that when you travel, the younger you are, the better experiences you have, the more you'll do. That's actually entirely not the case. Well, it might be the case, but it's up to you to do whatever it is that you want to do. However, what I've really found in the last kind of 10 or 15 years of travelling is that being over 40 has been such a bonus. There's been a few things. The first thing, the number one thing, is that you're kind of invisible. Well, honestly, I really didn't notice until I was actually doing an overland trip in Africa a couple of years ago, and one of the girls on the truck was a young girl and very attractive. And when she joined, I did the odd few things. We'd go places together, be a few of us kind of thing. And I really noticed then that I was pretty much invisible. Like everyone just assumed I was someone else's mum, which I don't care. But from a traveling perspective, I kind of was free to kind of wander around and, in markets. People just kind of left me alone. They don't really kind of worry about me. The other thing too is that, I'm reasonably heavy. So I'm just this kind of middle-aged woman that's just kind of wandering around Africa. So I was really quite invisible. And as soon as I noticed it, I realized that it had been like that way for quite a few years. And I remember when I was, in my 20s and even early 30s, traveling, and no matter where you go, there's always someone that's trying to sell you something, or a tour, or souvenirs, or just anything, and they follow you and they harass you, and I really discovered that now that I'm older, it's assumed that I have a lot of travel experience. Now in this case I actually do, but using the same scenario, I actually met a woman in Spain, and we did a couple of days together just kind of traveling. And she was also my age. She was German, and it was the very first time she'd ever left Germany. So she'd never left Germany before she was 50. And it was the same thing. People just assumed that because she was older, she had experience, and they just didn't try and do any kind of create any drama with her either. It was really cool. And I guess it was probably that moment that I went, it was a bit of an aha. I thought, wow, I'm just this average person now. Like, I'm not a young person who can be talked into things. I'm an older person who is happy to say no and happy to mean it. And my travel face obviously has got a lot better, That's my travel face. If you haven't got one, you've got to develop it. You really do. Like, you can't have any semblance of any kind of amusement, smile, interest. You've got to look 100% ahead and look almost angry. So you've kind of got to go, yep, see, works. Anyway, moving on. So the second thing that I've discovered that is really good for traveling over 40 is that personally, I don't care about stuff like I did when I was in my 20s. I rarely have makeup on. I always have like a tinted moisturiser, mostly because it's just a nice moisturiser that I found. It's really lightweight. It has a sunscreen in it, and it just, by accident once, I bought the tinted one and I actually liked it better. It was a nicer moisturiser, so I've stuck with that. But apart from that, you will almost never see me in my videos and stuff. You'll never see me with makeup on. Very rarely. I think, when I was in Nashville, I did it to go to the Opry one night, and maybe the odd thing like that, but it's not something that matters to me. And that really came home when I was in Costa Rica a few years ago, and I was just staying in a hostel, and it was just a little room with 3 beds, and I was the first person in there. Put my stuff out in the bed, and off I went, and I was kind of wandering around town. I had some lunch, and I came back, and there was a young girl. She was probably mid-20s, I'd say. And lovely young girl, really nice. We worked out we were doing the same things the next day. We were going to the zip lining thing for the day, and and hiking the following day and what have you. And, you know, I never kind of suggest that we kind of join up initially, because it does freak a lot of younger people out that, you know, that they just would feel like they had their mum with them. So I never kind of do that really. If someone's my own age, I might kind of say, oh, well, tomorrow if we both feel like it, maybe we'll share a cab or something. But I didn't do it because, you know, being kind of younger, I was kind of thought she probably would want to be on her own or hook up with some other young people. And then in the morning when we got up, I kind of got up, went to the loo, came back out, and I was just kind of getting my pack ready for the day, my day pack. I was putting my stuff in, and she kind of said, are you right if I use the bathroom? And I said, yeah, go for it. 40 minutes. She was in the bathroom for 40 minutes. And she came out, and I swear, she had like kind of hair that was a bit curly like mine, but it was this beautiful, smooth, straight. She had a blow dryer, a straightener, she had a full face makeup, and I mean full face makeup. And I'm like, are you going ziplining today? She's like, yeah. And I thought, you know what, good on you. You do whatever you feel that you need to do. But that is 40 minutes of my life I would never get back. And that shit just does not matter to me anymore. So traveling as an older person, I'm saving 40 minutes a day, effectively. Well, not that I probably would have spent 40 minutes a day. But yeah, it doesn't bother me. I'm going to have exactly the same experience, no matter whether my hair's just tied back and I don't have any makeup on, or whether I have beautiful hair and a fully made up face. It's not going to change one iota the experience I have that day. So why would I bother? I'm not going to. That's just me. The third thing I've noticed is that I am much more confident in my ability to say no, my ability to walk away, and my ability to try really hard if I need to. So I've never been someone who gives up easily. I must admit that. I think determined is a word a lot of people use to describe me. But I found that as I've got older, that applies to a wide range of scenarios. So for example, we were in Vietnam a few years ago, actually it was a long time ago now, and I'd seen in the markets these doona covers. So, if you're not Australian, a doona is, it's like the quilt that you put on your bed. So you have like the inner part that would be like down or acrylic or whatever, and then there's like a cover that goes over the top of it. So the whole thing we call a doona, which I don't know where they came from. It's a really weird word now I think about it, but that's what we call it. So I guess a comforter if you're from the US, or a quilt, whatever. Anyway, I saw these doona covers in the markets, and they were just pure white with like self-embroidery, like white embroidery on them. And it was just like, and normally things that are embroidered, they're always like flowers. That's just not me. But this was really kind of like filigree almost. They were lovely. And I'd seen earlier in the trip, I'd seen a woman in a cafe, and she'd bought one and she paid $35 for it, I think. And I can't remember if that was Australian or US, but I remember it was $35, the equivalent. So I knew they were fairly affordable, and I kind of thought I'd just have a bit of a sly look, kind of walking past. And I spotted this one I really liked, and I saw the woman, and she kind of said that it was $60, and I just was like, no, I just don't want to spend that much money. Like, I liked it, but I've got a doona cover at home, I don't need another one, so I just kind of figured if I can get it for $30, I'll get it. If I can't, I can't, that's fine. So she said 60, and I just said, oh, look, we kind of know we're in the ballpark, thanks anyway, and kind of walked off. And Brad had come to get me, and because he'd gone somewhere and we were going to catch a train or something, and we kind of had to hurry, so we kind of hurried away. And then I thought, when we come back, I'll have another look. So we had a day, I came back, and I thought, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to the same store, because she was the woman I originally talked to. So I went there, and I kind of talked to her about it, and she was firm on her $60. And I just said, all right, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, but I'm just not prepared to spend that. $30 was my maximum, so thanks very much. I'll just leave it. And I meant to leave it. I wasn't trying to negotiate, but I worked out that you just have to be really nice to people, really honest to people. Just because you want it for $30 doesn't mean you have the right to it for $30, or that she's even going to come down that low. And I hate shopping, I hate negotiating, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, $30 is it, if I can't get it for that. And she was 60, and I thought, she's not going to come down half, so, maybe 40, but I just didn't want to spend that much money. And we were at the end of our trip, and, my budget was getting a bit thin. And she kind of chased me, like they always do. And I just turned around and I very calmly said, look, I really appreciate it, I do, but I'm not trying to negotiate. $30 was my maximum, and clearly you're not going to sell it to me for that, and that's fine, that's no challenge. But I'm not interested, thank you very much. Whereas 30 years ago, I probably would have just kept walking and ignored her. Or I wouldn't have been rude to her, but I wouldn't have been nice about it. I wouldn't have explained myself. And then at the end of the day, if it hadn't worked out, at 5 o'clock, she would have remembered this kind of like really tall, because everyone always remembers me because I'm really tall, this weird Australian woman who was very abrupt to her. And I just discovered that I learned over the years that that's just not a way to treat people. I was never rude or aggressive or anything like that, but I never put the time in, I never explained myself, and I was never pleasant about it. I'd just be like, no, okay, thank you, and off I'd go. And I would just walk speedily. I walked very fast so they couldn't catch me, because tall, long legs, I can walk fast. But I've kind of learned that you have to still be nice to people. Like, it's still a nice thing to say, and explain to them why they were never going to get there, so that they kind of know the next person isn't just maybe trying to rob them. They maybe are trying to negotiate. I just wanted her to know I wasn't trying to be rude. I wasn't trying to cut her short. I just didn't want to spend that much money. Well, off we went. We went and had our lunch, and then we came back, and she came running across the street with this doona cover and said $40. And once again, I was like, look, I'm not trying to negotiate. I don't want to spend more than $30. It was just how much I was happy to spend. I'm not happy to spend any more than that. So thank you, but no. So I kept walking, so she turned around the front, 35. And then I'm standing there thinking, I'm quibbling with this woman over $5. $5. Like, my challenges are, God, my life insurance is getting expensive. Oh, my health insurance is $300 a month. Her challenges are, she has to feed her kids tonight and pay the rent on her stall. And I was like, $5, it's $5, suck it up, princess. So I paid her the $35, and she shook my hand and gave me a hug and said, thank you so much. You've been very nice to deal with. And in perfect English. And I really thought, yeah, that's the difference. That is the difference. So I've really learned as I've got older to be nice to people, apart from the times that you need to travel face. But, if you're negotiating with someone and you don't want to pay it, explain to them why, shake their hand, say thank you very much, and walk away. Don't just be a dick about it, which I probably would have done in my 20s. The other thing I think that I've learned, which is, what are we now, number 4? I think we're number 4, is that the saying goes the other direction. I'm happy just to go no and walk away. I've always been a no person. I've always can just say no. I never felt the need to give a reason. No is a perfectly good answer. My dad used to say that to us all the time. We happily to say yes, but we always feel like we have to explain no. And I think I still did when I was younger, but as I've got older, I can do a no, I can do a really firm no, and a no and a travel face combined, yeah, no one's chasing me down the street. And that's the other advantage, is they know that at this age, they, A, like I mentioned earlier, assume that you've had travel experience, and B, is my phone going off? See, I'm really good at this YouTubing, aren't I? And B, that your firm no is a firm no. They know they're not going to talk you into it like they are when you're 20. Like, there's been times, actually probably not me, I must admit, because if I'm going to say no, that's it, it's no. But Brad in particular used to say these crazy prices to people. They'd be like, you can have it for $25, and you'd like, $4, I'll give you $4. And I'd be like, don't do that, because now they think that's a starting point, and they're just gonna, well, even now, like, not that I would ever do that, because I kind of think it's a bit rude, but if I did, I feel like they're very much convinced that my answer is my answer and I'm not going to be swayed. So that's been really, really, what is going on with my phone? Someone's messaging me. I'm so sorry. I'm actually in the bathroom, weirdly, because our house is like this kind of open, kind of Queenslander style home. So you can hear the traffic going fast, yeah. So I'm in the bathroom because it's the only place that's reasonably quiet. So yeah, I bought my phone in by accident and now someone's going crazy. So I apologise about that. But yeah, they're the biggest four things I've found. Actually, there's probably number five as well, is I have the ability to prioritise really well now. So even though I travel always on a budget, I'm always on a budget, and I really do watch my pennies. While I watch my pennies, I know where I can save it and I know where I should spend it. So for example, I'm traveling in, I can think of a good example. When we were in Botswana, we were kind of I was overlanding on a truck, and you have an option, not so much on the west coast, but once you kind of get through the southern and eastern side, a lot of the places we stop at campsites, there's also like little rooms as well. So you have the opportunity to pay for a little room if you want to get out of your tent, what have you. And I did that quite a few times, I must admit, especially when the weather was rubbish. And I really felt like that was a bonus that I could do when I wanted, but I didn't do it as much as I would have liked, because that gave me the ability to prioritise my funds so that when we got to the Okavango Delta, I could pay my $250 US and do the flight over the Delta, and things like that. So I'm not going to go whitewater rafting, bungee jumping, skydiving, wherever I'm anywhere, because I've done all those things, and I'm not going to throw money at doing something again just because it's an experience in another country. That just doesn't make sense to me. But what I would do is, like I say, I bought a ticket to the Opry on opening night of CMA week in Nashville, kind of thing. And I don't even like country music, but I'm like, you know what, this is an experience I'm never going to have again. I got there in CMA week quite by accident. I didn't even know it was CMA week, and then everyone kept going on to me about the Opry. I went online, the tickets were so expensive and it was sold out anyway. I was like, well, that's not going to happen. And then I realised it was CMA week, and the Tuesday night was the opening night at the Opry. So I got it on StubHub, and I think it was $200. But I paid the $200 and I went, and it was awesome. Or like Coachella, I did Coachella a couple of years ago, and I had to buy the ticket before I left Australia, and you buy it like 6 months out. You don't even know who the lineup is at this point. And I could only get a VIP ticket for the weekend I wanted to go, and it was $900 US. But you know what? I bought it. And it was the best thing I ever did, because the VIP areas are awesome. Right next to the main stage, clean toilets, free toilets, you don't have to line up. Like, it was really cool. I would recommend anybody, if you're gonna do the whole 3 days and you're gonna give it a really good nudge, buy the VIP ticket. But these are the things that I feel now I can do, and then there's other things I won't do, like, have my own coffee. And wherever I'm anywhere, I always can boil a kettle. I love coffee. Boil a kettle, have a coffee, make my travel mug, and off I go. So I'm not spending $5 a day somewhere on coffee. So I find I really, as I've got older, prioritizing stuff has become much easier. It's much more automatic, and I feel like I end up with heaps more out of it. So I hope that's kind of helped you to think about yourself traveling over 40. You don't need the things you did when you were 20. It's assumed you've got more experience. You are relatively invisible, which is pretty cool. And you have normally maybe a little bit of extra income, or a little bit of extra savings, or a job to go back to, or something that's going to help you out to make those kind of financial decisions, not just while you're saving, but while you're on the road as well. Let me know any comments, anything I've missed, because I always miss something. And I will see you next week. I think next week's going to be a destination video, actually. So I'll see you then. Thanks.